However, I want to clarify also that procrastination is not laziness. Let's establish that procrastination is generally tied back to some stress, fear, or anxiety. Hi, this is Evangeline Delini. Welcome back to Classy Chic. On this channel, we focus on a woman who's leveling up from a place of ease and flow with a holistic approach, discussing self-development through research of science and spirituality. If these are topics you enjoy listening to or being a part of, please go ahead and subscribe. I really do appreciate it. If at the end of this video you resonate with the discussion for today, please give us a thumbs up. It helps YouTube share the video with more people. Today we're going to be focusing on procrastination. We're first going to describe what procrastination is, also get a clear understanding of what procrastination is not, and then I'll give you some examples of how procrastination sometimes shows up in our lives, and I'll give you an example from my life, and I will share a few tips that I've been able to master to be able to control or beat procrastination. So the first thing we must clarify is what procrastination is. Procrastination is the action of delaying or postponing things that you know has to get done. So pretty much you keep putting things off. You know they're important, but you keep pushing on the back burner. You just don't want to face them and do them. However, I want to clarify also that procrastination is not laziness. Let's establish that procrastination is generally tied back to some stress, fear, or anxiety. So what I want to do is give you an example of how procrastination showed up in my life. It shows up all the time, but this one was a huge one. That's what I think sharing this with you in this video would be a great way for you to kind of see how it can show up. And sometimes we'll think like, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this, but it's actually just procrastination, which is then tied to fear. And we'll get into that a little bit. But in 2019, I had the opportunity to collaborate with Macy's. My designs are going to be featured in Macy's for a period of time. It was during the summer. This was a great opportunity. This was an opportunity for the brand to now have exposure, gain more brand awareness, gain market share. All the great things you can think about that will happen for a fashion designer having your pieces in a big store like Macy's. That was a huge opportunity. Now, Macy's made this process very easy. Everything was seamless. Like all the tasks I needed to get done was put on a dashboard, and every week you had a marker on when this is needed to be completed. However, though, when it came down to the marketing pieces and the things I needed to provide as far as doing videos, because I had to do a video talk about the brand history and all that, I did all that. But when it came down to creating the designs, because Macy did tell me, they didn't restrict me on what I needed to put in the store. However, I just needed to have a number of SKUs across each design in terms of color or print or sizing. So after I did the calculation, it came down to probably like about 85 pieces that I needed to create. Now, I could do everything else, okay? Like when they needed something about the brand history, I needed to fill out all my tasks on the dashboard. I got everything done in time. But for some odd reason, when it came down to creating these pieces, I just found myself dragging, and I don't know why. So because it's not that I'm not a creative person, I've had social proof of my designs being, people like so I was not new in this space in a sense. This was my new experience when it comes to creating design. So I don't know what was happening here. But knowing what I know now, it was a clear case of procrastination, and it was bad. So I did not create these designs until last minute, but this was horrible because for the last 3 days before I had to ship everything out to Macy's, I was living on caffeine and just not sleeping, and I would never ever do that again in my life. But that was what was happening. So looking back at it, I was dealing with a huge experience of procrastination, and that really taught me something based on what I know now on how procrastination shows up. So like I said, it was not that I was lazy, because it was part of the requirement that I was completing. But when it came down to the designs, I just couldn't lift my feet up to do it. So after doing some soul searching and really digging behind why procrastination shows up, or the reasoning behind us procrastinating, is because it's tied to stress, anxiety, or fear. When it comes down to it, really, it's just fear, okay? Most times the reason why we don't do things, it's a subconscious belief, something that is in our mind that is operating subconsciously and telling us certain things that we're believing, and because we're believing it subconsciously, we're responding. And so I realized that fear was controlling, and the fear that was controlling my own situation in this case was the fact that my designs was going to be put on display in a public place with so many people coming through that store, and I was going to be put up against other designers. So that fear of feeling that what I had to offer was not valuable was what was ruling the procrastination. That was the underlying theme of why I was procrastinating and don't want to do, but it was subconsciously happening. See, I was not aware. It was not consciously happening. It was subconsciously happening, and I had no idea that was what was happening. But after, fast forward, now that I understand what procrastination is and what it's tied to, that's exactly what's going on. Okay? So anyway, I want to jump right now into the 5 steps I want to share with you on how you can deal with procrastination. But before we get into these 5 steps, let me also say that during the time of procrastination, when you're going through a season of procrastination, this is not the time to negative self-talk or beat yourself down, because it will make the situation worse, and then sometimes people roll into depression. This is not the time to say anything negative. What I would recommend you do in this case is you sit by yourself for a few days or a few hours and figure out, why are you pushing this work off? And jot some things down. Maybe a question you could ask yourself is, am I valuable enough to produce what I need to produce? Am I afraid of the results that I'm going to provide at the end of the day when it comes to this? Am I afraid that whatever I produce, others may not like it? It may be of no value to others. So when you have these questions, write them out, and then what you can do is, next to each of those fear-based questions or statement, you want to also write out an empowering statement. So maybe you can write, so for example, if one of the questions is, if what I'm sharing, I don't feel like it's gonna, level up or match up to others, or it might not be valuable to others, then what you could do, in my case with the fashion design, if I was thinking back then, or I understood what procrastination was and what it was tied to, then an empowering statement could be, already you have a lot of people who recognize your brand, who value the quality of work that you do when it comes to your fashion design. So you do have value in this fashion space. You have social proof of all the people who bought from you. You have record of that. So that would be an empowering statement to combat the negative feeling or the fear-based thought that was going on subconsciously. So you get what I'm saying. So when you have these negative thoughts, see if you can come up with an empowering statement to combat those negative thoughts. So let's just jump now into the 5 points that I want to share with you on how you can deal with procrastination. So the first one I would say is, break down your task into smaller actionable steps. I talked about this on a previous video where I explained to you, in order for you to show up in your day and really conquer your day, is to be able to break your project down into categories and then into actionable steps, little actionable steps. So it's the same thing that applies here, and I'll link that video in the cards. But the same thing applies here. Make sure that you're not being overwhelmed by the projects or the tasks that you need to do. Make them little, okay? And then take your time and do them. Make them small so that you don't feel like you can take action. So the next step, or the next point I will share, is to commit to tiny first steps. So let me give you an example. Let's assume you wanted to start meditating, okay? And you figure like, okay, I don't think meditation is for me because my mind just go crazy. I can't sit still and things like that. So you try to meditate for 5-10 minutes and you just can't get it done. But what I would recommend in this case, so you start to put it off. You keep procrastinating. Oh, I will do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And then it comes to a time where you just don't want to do it at all. But what I would recommend is, maybe you can do like 2 minutes of meditation to commit to that tiny step of 2 minutes. So what you can do is say, okay, I would meditate for 2 minutes only. I'm not going to go more than 2 minutes. I'm just going to do 2 minutes, and then we'll see. So what you're doing in that case, you're establishing the habit, so you're able to get up every morning and know that you have to meditate. So the next step, number 3, would be, give yourself permission to make mistakes. You have to understand that mistakes are part of development. We have to fail in most cases before we get better. But the great news is that when you fail or you make those mistakes and you fall on your face or fall flat on your face, you know what not to do next time. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. And what I find is that people who are perfectionists, this is a killer for them. This hurts them when it comes to procrastination because they want everything to be so perfect that they don't ever get to start. So understand you're going to make mistakes. It's better to execute than to be perfect. So go ahead and jump into it, make the mistakes, get it corrected, and start over again. And there's nothing wrong with that. It all makes it good in the end. So number 4 would be, make it easy to decide. Okay, don't make your actionable steps so difficult that you can't even decide. So in the case of meditating, instead of saying, okay, I gotta do this, or maybe I gotta find this other place to do my, why not in the night before you go to bed, find a space where you know you're gonna be able to meditate. So you're making that decision, you're making it ready, you're breaking any friction that's gonna come between you and your 2-minute meditation in the morning. So you set up your spot that you need to meditate the next morning, and then what you could do is say, every time I brush my teeth or after I brush my teeth, I'm going straight down or wherever, sit and meditate for 2 minutes. So you're making the decision easy. You're taking out any friction that will cause you to push things and put it on the back burner. Okay, so it's almost like what I talked about yesterday, plan ahead. So make the decision easier by planning ahead. Okay, and then tie it to an action step that you would take right before you do that. So in the case, wake up, brush my teeth, meditate. All right, and then the 5th one I will share with you is make it fun. Make it fun. Okay, so in the case of the Macy's thing, maybe if I had said, okay, when I'm making the bodices or making the sleeves on the pieces, then maybe I can put some music on and I can dance around, or make it fun. Make it in a way where it's not a challenge. It's already stressful, okay, in itself, and procrastination is already tied to stress and fear. So if you make light of it and make it fun, then it's easier for you to execute or to take the action. Anyway, I hope these points that I share on this topic today resonates with you. I really would like to hear your feedback. Please comment below, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye-bye.